All right, you are going to absolutely love today's episode. I had my amazing friend Praise Santos today. She is the founder of the branding studio ComePlum, where she photographs female entrepreneurs and coaches them to scale their business for social impact. She's an amazing photographer. She had her work published in Vogue and Forbes, and has done workshops for big brands like Shopify. Praise is amazing. Her mindset is amazing. She is great at really helping clients understand the importance of have a good, solid brand identity that really comes across during your branding photo shoot. She is a powerhouse and she was amazing to have on the show. I hope you enjoyed this. Let's dive in. Hey there, I am Nata Salvatore, and you're listening to the Accidental CEO podcast. This is a space for high-performing entrepreneurs who have built real success, but still find themselves tangled in the day-to-day. If you're done being the engine of your business and ready for scale with clarity, trust, and ease, you're in the right place. Each week, I'll bring you sharp strategies, identity-level mindset shifts, and leadership tools to help you rise above the business and lead from alignment, not exhaustion. Because scaling isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more of who you're meant to be. Subscribe now and let's build a version of your business that finally supports you. You're not just winging it, you are leading it. But let's be honest, being the CEO and the everything else can get lonely, messy, and exhausting. That's why I created the Accidental CEO Collective, a free Facebook community for creative entrepreneurs who never plan to be the boss, but damn it, here we are. Inside, I go live every week to share the real stuff. Strategies that don't require a business degree, behind the scenes struggles, because you're not the only one, and wins that we actually celebrate, even the tiny ones. If you're a scrappy, smart, sometimes slightly burnout founder who is ready to lead with more clarity and less chaos, this is your room. We're building a business that works for us, not one that runs us into the ground. Come join us. Let's grow, mess up, pivot, and succeed together. Just search the Accidental CEO Collective on Facebook and join our group today. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, and today I have a very special friend with me. We've been doing some learning together, and she has so much to share with you guys. I'm very excited. I have Praise Santos here with me, and she's the founder of the branding studio ComePlum, where she photographs female entrepreneurs and coaches them to scale their business for social impact. Her photos have been featured in Vogue, go girl, and Forbes, and she has been taught workshops for Golden State Warriors, a dance team, and also Shopify. So her project, Ethical Weddings, won a 20 on the Rise Award by the Rising Tide Society. She is just amazing, and I'm so excited for you guys to learn from her. Welcome, Praise.
Thanks so much for having me.
So share with us a little bit about just how you ended up in the photography world. I know there was a fun story with a camera borrowed from somebody. So let's just tell them a little bit about the background of how you ended up in the world of photography.
Well, Nata, I love this concept of accidental CEO because that is very much my life, and that I didn't intend to be doing this life and running this business. It was a lot of series of decisions and circumstances that ended up this way. But I first got started in photography because shout out to any other second siblings out there, younger siblings out there. I wanted to copy my sister so much, and my sister's super talented, a makeup artist and such a go-getter that she would do makeup for her clients, and she bought herself a nice camera so she could shoot things for her portfolio. And I kind of wiggled my way in and said, "Hey, when you're not using your camera, can I play with it?" I was like 15 or 16 at the time. She's like, "Yes, okay, just don't drain all the battery, put it back in its place." And I'm like, "Okay, I promise you I'll do that." And so I just took her camera, went to my room, and I just wanted to figure this out. So when I was 15, this is like 2005, 2006. YouTube is just coming out. So there aren't a lot of tutorials online. Learning was really just me tinkering and figuring things out. Okay, if I want a blurry background, I change this setting from 5.0 to 2.8. Okay, cool. If I wanted to make it blurry, I tried to change this thing that says shutter speed to this. And so it was really me just trial and error figuring things out, which my husband just attended a lecture recently about learning, and they say that ironically, lecturing doesn't help you with learning. It's about doing and figuring it out yourself, which I know is a lot of your own coaching method too. And that's kind of how I learned photography was my sister being really gracious and handing me a camera. And so I was just taking pictures in my room. And a youth leader at my church saw a picture of a snow globe I took and she said, "Wow, Praise is so artistic. Praise, can you take engagement photos for us?" And I looked at her like, "Why would you ask me to do that? I even know I'm just a kid." But she just saw something in me. And sometimes that's what it takes. It takes someone from the outside seeing your talent and your potential. And I fell in love with it because I got to make something really beautiful with some friends. I was really happy about their engagement. And I got to make it really beautiful and help tell their story and use all these skills I learned tinkering just by myself and create something with them. And so I learned that I really lit up creating beautiful things and like working and serving people. And so that stuck with me for a bit, but I never thought I'd be doing it full time because I went to college. I studied communications. I thought I'd work at a nonprofit, which I did when I first moved to San Francisco. But there was that constant nudge of like, Praise, you want to create, you want to build things and make things. And so it wasn't until I got really burnt out at my job that I resigned and sat down a bit and thought to myself, prayed, okay, what is it that I really want to do? And it was one of those things like, okay, how can I spend my time making pretty things and loving people well? And photography just kept coming up. And so I gave myself 3 months to try to wing it in San Francisco, which at the time was the most expensive city. That was in 2014. Like rents were insane. And me being a child of immigrants, just never thought being a full time artist was a practical way of making a living. But I just told myself I have to give it a chance. I've kind of tried this more 9 to 5 traditional route and it didn't fit. Let me just see if I can do this for 3 months. And then 3 months turned into a year. And now I've been in business for 10 years, making pretty things and loving people well. And so it was a bit accidental, but it was more step by step by step. I don't think I could have handled at 16 knowing I would be running a business and a team of photographers and a team of knowledgeable brand folks too. And so I'm really grateful for this accidental, beautiful journey I've been on.
Yeah, I love that story. My sister is a makeup artist too.
I'm telling you.
We've been talking for over an hour now. I was just on Praise's podcast, and we are finding we're soul twins over here. So I love that. We're just discovering more and more things in common as we talk. But I really love your story of again another similar story of like recognizing this is not something that's making me happy. This is not for me. Like how can I find the right path for me to do what I want, be happy about it, like serve people and actually pay the rent in California. So, it's a journey. Sometimes you just have to take the time and again slow things down and take the time to think about how you're going to take that step and make that in a smart way. I don't know what was the actual logistics of how you did it, Praise, but like I actually save a year's worth of expenses before I left my job. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. And the main concern, the fear for me was, am I going to be able to continue to contribute to my family? And are we going to be able to maintain the same, life status that we have? And we have kids that we were paying for daycare. So, I made sure that I recognized the fear and the concern. And then I made a plan to address it. I saved that money and then there was no more excuses. Like there was no reason for me not to leave and start my own business. So once I feel like you take the time to understand what's keeping you from taking the next step, you write it down, you make a plan, then what else are you going to tell yourself? There's no more excuses. You eliminate all them and then you're ready. You feel more supported and more confident to take the next step. What was your process like when you left?
Yeah, I resonate with that so much just because we were talking about this that there's so much noise out there, right? And in our industry, but just in the world right now that oftentimes I meet with friends and clients that haven't really just sat with themselves and asked themselves some evaluating questions of yeah, what does my life look like? What do I want it to look like? What are my values and where are they being met and where are they not being met right now? Because where is that gap happening? For me, working a couple of years in San Francisco, kind of in a typical 9 to 5, there were parts I really loved about it, but I was so busy going to the day to day. I thank God that there were some really hard things in my life that caused me to stop. I was really anxious and really depressed. And I am someone who's typically very warm, loves people, but I just didn't even have energy for people. I wasn't eating well. So some of my basic physical functions weren't working well. And that's for those of you listening, everyone's body works different, but for me, that was like a wake up call. Like, I'm like barely even functioning. Something is not right in my life. Let me take some time off to sit and think about it, to bring in people into my life to ask for help and for wisdom too. And so thankfully, I had a great boss who was a great support system for me. And they really encouraged me, like, Praise, we love you more than we love you in this job. So please do whatever you have to do to like get healthy and feel right. And so I even took some time and flew home to Florida because I really wanted my mom. I knew I was an adult already, but I was like, I just don't feel good right now. So I just need to be with my mom. But it was also to take me away from my kind of everyday obligations to sit down and really just ask myself, okay, I feel pretty close to death right now. When was a time that I felt vibrant? And when was a time I felt creative and had ideas? And so I had to sit back a little bit and chew on that to realize, okay, I really value when I can serve people and light up, but I'm so drained that something in my life is saying no to this. And so what I had to evaluate was, okay, what could give me enough flexibility and free time and more of this autonomy, this freedom with time and finances to make this work. And so when I took the leap, I said a really short story earlier, but I still had to make rent and make things work. So I was working a photography job. I was also doing any like graphic design job. I was doing acting and modeling. I was doing brand ambassadoring. I was on Craigslist just finding like 1 day gigs here and there. I'm like, okay, rent is this much, groceries are this much. I'm going to make this work. So for me, it wasn't so much about saving, it was about hustling and knowing like the minimum of what I had to do. But that was also such a good time for me because it showed me my grit that even this like working 4 different kind of jobs was still better than kind of a 9 to 5 workplace for me that was really taking out a lot of my creative energy. Like this was a refinement for me and a learning stage for me too. And so I gave myself a time frame, I gave myself a minimum, and I'm really grateful that I still have that part of me too. So I know it when things get tough or when things sometimes are slow in our business because some of our business can be seasonal, I always remind myself like, "Wait, we've done this before and we've always made it." And so that for me was kind of my evaluation point and what I did to kind of put it together. But what I've learned from coaching other folks is everyone's risk tolerance is different. Everyone's life circumstance is different too. I was also single, didn't have any kids too, so it was really just me. I think if I had a partner, had children, had a certain lifestyle, it would have I've been a little more risk averse, but thankfully in that time in my life, I was like my mid 20s, I could take a few more risks and do a few more things. And it was a really big learning time for me, which business is really fascinating in that way. Business, yes, it is an income stream, but it's also this path for I think a lot of personal growth, a lot of faith building in the process. And for me to be able to have this business, being graced with this business for 10 years, I see so much growth and integration in my life because of it. So I'm really grateful for how this story is panning out.
Tell us, how did you transition from taking personal photos to creating your brand studio focused on female entrepreneurs specifically? And it's like, what inspired this shift for you?
Yeah. So for me, kind of my guiding light, kind of based on having been burnt out before. And even I will say in business, there are times that I've been burnt out before. And a key question I have to ask myself is where is their energy right now? Like, where are there parts that are really giving me life? So when I first started doing my 4 jobs, which at one point I was selling ketchup at Whole Foods, which bless all the people who give out samples at Whole Foods. I was that person who was just like, hey, this is a really great organic ketchup and it gave me good skills though of how to know a product well and how to present it well and how to listen to people well too. So I've integrated that even into my business from condiments to where we are now. But after working all those 4 jobs, I was able to focus on just photography. But photography, you know this really well, Nata, is a huge industry. There are so many kinds of specialties you can do. And I was kind of doing everything at first. I was like, okay, a little bit of real estate, a little bit of weddings, a little bit of like baby shower photos, just whatever needed me in my camera. I was saying yes. But then I asked myself, okay, at the end of this job, was that energy giving? Was that life giving? And I was able to evaluate over time that the things that were most fun for me were actually ones where I was able to photograph other small businesses, especially female entrepreneurs, because it would be conversations like this, but they also got some photos afterwards too. It was this honing in for me of I want to keep on focusing on these kind of shoots that give me energy. And I can see it in my clients as well. They're leaving more energized because one, they got some great photos, but two, they left really encouraged and resourced and inspired. And so that was a good thing for me to see like, okay, there's energy there. It's good for them too. But also, we started to branch more into not just brand photos, but just branding in general because we would deliver these photos to folks. And I don't know if this ever happened to you and you're like, but I never see you update your website or posting or using them for your marketing. And I realized I was giving them like the end result and they actually needed a lot of this help at the beginning. They needed help with their vision. They needed help with a lot of their strategy. And so I got into coaching just to help the people I really loved helping anyways, but to help them with brand foundation, brand strategy, and then brand expression of like, okay, now we can put these photos on a website because now you know what your product is, you know how you're serving the world, who you know who your audience is. And so it was the result of me finding where the energy is and me listening to my people and seeing what they needed to. And so I also realized that this business is this living organism. So I'm also excited. Like our business is even still evolving now, where I'm also just listening and responding to where the energy is and seeing how it evolves. And I feel like I just have the responsibility of being the visionary and decision maker to say, like, yes to this things. And maybe we put that on the side. Maybe that was like in our past, we don't need that as much anymore. So it's definitely been an evolution, both on the business's end and in me as a person.
So I have a new tagline for you: from condiments to ComePlum. I love how you mentioned it, we joked about it a little bit, but there's such an importance to doing these little one-off odd jobs that expose you to different things. If you're smart enough to pay attention to what you're doing and transfer those skills to your own business later, gosh, it's going to make such a difference. So, just the fact that you have to constantly approach people that are walking by, not intent into talking to you necessarily as when they walk into the store, but like having to create the courage to approach somebody, interrupt their shopping experience, and offer them something that they were probably not necessarily looking for. But then, sharing, having to learn about the product, having to recite that, and then listen to objections and try to continue to sell. Those are all things that you can bring into your business and such a valuable experience and skill. And sometimes people go through life and they take these jobs and they don't take advantage of the things that they learn and apply that to their own business. It's such a waste of experience in my opinion. So I love that you mentioned that. I've done plenty of crazy odd jobs. Whenever there's a two through to the lie kind of game, that's usually what goes in there because people are like, you did what? You worked on what? So, but I think that's such a valuable thing to like pay attention to those opportunities, those experiences that you had, and bring that into your new adventures. And such a beautiful thing that you actually took the time to listen to your clients and see like what they needed, because it's so easy to just produce that end product and deliver and say bye, see you later, I'm on to my next client. But you really took the time to understand what your client needed and help them along the way to really make sure that they were using the product that you're providing to them, and trying to understand why they were not using it. It's not because you could have easily assumed they just didn't like my pictures. You would have missed a business opportunity there if you've gone straight into a negative mindset. But you actually analyzed it and you got to the conclusion that they just needed a little bit more handholding and instruction and structure around how to utilize that product you're offering to them. So kudos to you for being a smart girl.
From condiments to ComePlum, credit Nata. Thank you so much for that
TM.
trademark. We're copyrighting it
TM.
right now.
So, help us understand a little bit more of the process of using ComePlum to help your clients discover the feelings that they want captured through their branding and business. Because it's one thing to just, again, take some nice, pretty pictures, but it's a completely different thing to really capture the essence of a brand and what your client is trying to portray. So, talk to us about that.
Yeah, and this is really interesting because it seems like a lot of my work, even though it's very visual focused, like we help people with websites, we do video, we do photos, we help with personal brands and things like that. And a lot of people see this end result, a lot of these deliverables that we give to people. But the real work we do is giving people space to get to know more of themselves and their values and what they really want. And so a lot of my work is asking open ended questions of, okay, what impact do you want your business to make on the world? When was that time when you look back that you were so excited that your business could help people with this problem? Like, let's recapture that feeling and really hone in on that effect, which for us, we define brand as what people think, feel, and say about you and your business, especially if you have a thought leadership platform or a personal brand. You are such a representative of your brand, just as I was a representative of Sir Kensington's ketchup and mustard too. Like you are your own brand ambassador, but what is that those key feelings you want to communicate to those people? Is it a feeling of professionalism, warmth, going above and beyond? Is it of humor, of inspiration and helping people have space to check in with themselves, asking them the right questions so they can hone in on that? I've seen several things happen. One, I've seen their work and their brand expression become more cohesive, how they show up online in interviews, their marketing materials, the emails start to feel the same. It starts to be cohesive and more consistent. So that brand expression just becomes more succinct, right? They become more definable and differentiated in their industry, which is huge. But secondly, I also see people get re-inspired to run their businesses because we give them the space to really sit back and think to themselves, Why did you start this in the first place? Why are you so excited? And why do you keep on doing this?" And it gives them sometimes that energy boost they need to keep going. And so for us, our process is a lot of what we call pre-production. There's a lot of questioning and coaching worksheets beforehand. That's a really kind of a get to know you. And then if they do hire us for also brand expression with websites, photos, videos, we make sure as creative directors and producers that we help with everything to communicate that, from styling to body language to tone to copy. That, okay, you said your three brand words were professionalism, warmth, and innovation. What outfit really helps communicate that? What body language helps communicate that? How does your hair and makeup choices help communicate that? Your colors. And so it's this process where we get people to help them know themselves better, and then they team up with us to make sure that it's coming across in the right way.
Let's be honest, you didn't build this business to work 80 hours a week, chasing invoices and solving problems at midnight. But now you hit a wall. You've outgrown DIY and you're spinning your wheels trying to scale and stay sane. That's where one-on-one coaching with me comes in. This is not a cookie cutter program. It's tailored, strategic support designed specifically for founders like you, the ones who built something from nothing and are now carrying all the weight. We'll get clear on what's keeping you stuck, simplify your focus, and build a plan that gets results without burning you out. If you want a second brain and no BS sounding board, and someone who can help you make better, faster, smart decisions, this is for you. Head out to accidentalceo.co/coaching. That's accidentalceo.co/coaching. And let's work together to grow your business and take your life back. Do you feel like people struggle to just verbalize their brand identity or what they want to portray, or sometimes that they are saying something, but they're showing something completely different and you have to point that out?
I like that you're asking that question with a laugh because you worked with enough people that you're like, we have
As
all.
somebody who has done plenty of branding photography in the past, what have you found?
So it is a common struggle. And it's, again, like I just hope and I see a future where people just have more space to get in tune with their values just because I think people just rush through things and go through things and are just so honestly tied up in capitalism. Like, we put our time in this. This needs to make that much. They say we need brand photos for this. So I'm hiring you to do this. So help me get it done. And then you're just like, hey, I think you're kind of losing yourself in the process and know that your audience feels that too. And it's also reminding them your audience has such a good BS meter that they know when this is real and when this is coming from the heart and when this is coming from like one human to another human. And that's what really communicates well. So sometimes I feel like my biggest work is like, hey, let's step back and just like bring you back to you. I am not a therapist, but I can be a friend right now. I can be a coach to help just be like, actually, you say these words, but what I'm hearing and sensing from you is actually this. What do you think about that? Right. So it's kind of these hard truths like, hey, you really are hiring me to be a mirror right now. And let me like help you help yourself right now. And I'm just gonna tell you some things and reflect back some things that you might not even see like this goodness that's coming out of you. And you're like missing this opportunity. But I also want to raise my hand, and I've done plenty of that in the past too. So I'm also guilty as well. For me, it's also still an ever evolving. What are our values right now? How does it apply to the world and our people who need this right now too? So it is a constant evaluation. If we look at some of the biggest brands and some of our most beloved brands we know, like Target, Disney, Nike, has also evolved over time, but some of their core elements are still there. And so, same with us, like give ourselves a permission to evolve and also bring in good people to tell you and give you feedback of like, I don't think that's what you were meaning to do. I think this feels a little more you and this feels a little more real.
Yeah, I love that you help your clients see that. I mean, it's a very common, especially in the beginning. You're still trying to figure it out who you are and what your brand is to like just see somebody that you maybe think is, wow, they got it figured out, they did it right, and you're just gonna try to maybe imitate that or get inspired by it. And at the end of the day, that might not be you and your thing, and that might be not be why people get attracted to you and your work. So really take the time to go through the exercise of finding your identity as a business owner, which might be different than your identity as a person, which again, people don't understand that a lot of times. So it's great that you have this whole process to extract that out of them and really I'm sure create a better end product when you really take the time to understand that. So kudos to you again. Tell us a little bit more about how you incorporate the empowerment into your branding service.
For us, empowerment is a big thing because we say we're a brand studio, but we're actually, I feel like a women's empowerment company that serves as a brand studio too. So for us, our mission and our vision is to see 10,000 women really equipped, resourced, feeling inspired and confident. And the thing they're specifically called to do, which kind of relates to what we were just talking about, is that everyone has this special sense of magic in them. You and I, as much as we have found so many similarities today, which I love, we still have things that make praise praise and nata nata. And there's that magic there too. Yeah. So when I say empowerment, our three key brand words that we want everyone to feel when they interact with our studio, when they listen to me on a podcast, when they meet any of our team members out and about on shoots, when we're designing their websites, is we want people to feel inspired and resourced and confident. Those are our three brand values that really drive a lot of what we do. So, as our business evolves, as we keep on listening to what our people need, we are doing our first women's retreat this November, which is a new thing for us. But I want there to be that consistency of inspiration, being resourced, and feeling confident in the process. And so there's so many multiple things there, but those are our driving things. That's our mission and vision that we really want to accomplish. And we are open to see how different parts of our business evolve to really help empower that woman to do the thing that they're called to do.
I want to learn more about your project, Ethical Weddings. So tell us a little bit about that. And I know you won an amazing award by the Rising Tide Society for that. So tell us about the project and what the award meant to you.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, the Rising Tide Society that was started by my friend Natalie Frank and a few other visionaries, small business owners who knew that it wasn't about competition. It was really about community, that we were better when we shared our resources. We are better. They say a rising tide like raises all boats. I think that's even though Nat and I are in very similar industries. We are educators. We love to coach. I want to see Nata thrive. I want to see her business do well. I want to see her clients thrive too, because I know it'll be better for everybody. Right. And so this society is so cool. So many like minded people who believe in this. And at this point, when I got this award, there was like 80 or 90,000 of us across the world. So I was really honored that this project I worked on was viewed by these set of people with these values as something really worthwhile. And this project is called Ethical Weddings because I was photographing so many weddings and photographing so many unions. And California is beautiful, so we get to be part of so many things. I was also doing some photojournalism work, but I remember specifically going to Guatemala and like photographing these cacao farmers telling the story of chocolate, which I still love, and then flying back to the United States and photographing this wedding. And I just felt that torn feeling that something's not right. I was just interviewing a guy 2 days ago who said, "I work on this farm so I can make the equivalent of like 5 to 7 US dollars a day. And so my hopes is to send my son to college." And then I go to this wedding and it's even honestly by our standards a cheaper wedding, like a 40K wedding, but it was you spend $40,000 in one day. And I was really torn about it just because I was like, I'm almost in the same time zone of Guatemala and this wedding I am in Northern California. But my gut just wasn't sitting right too. Because the thing is, I really believe in weddings and I love a great party. So I feel like people should still have great weddings. And if they have the resources to throw a great party, like please invest in it. I love it, the wedding industry too. But there was just this disconnect. And so I thought to myself, from the brides that I work with, the brides and grooms, I know actually a lot of them love to travel and want to see the world thrive as well. What if we made a the wedding day almost a platform for what they value and that it could have a social and environmental impact on the world? So we created this resource, this blog, this like mini conference where brides and grooms could come and learn of like, hey, here's how you can talk about your favorite charity on your wedding day or add it to your wedding registry. Or, hey, here are 5 questions you can ask your florist to make sure they're sourcing flowers that are local, that are eco friendly, that they're not just like importing lilies from Europe to their wedding, which just doesn't make any sense, tulips from overseas. And so it was getting people to think differently. And I loved seeing that movement happen because I sensed that there were so many other wedding vendors who felt that same weird tier and like divide too of like, we want these beautiful weddings, but we're also children of immigrants. We also see like this hurt in the world too. How could our work be doing good in the world? And so it's just this ongoing resource. You can go to ethical-weddings.com or find us on Instagram at instagram.com/ethical weddings. And you can see even when I got married of trying to put together a lot of these principles, we started interviewing a ton of people who just started thinking differently about the wedding day. Tons of other vendors who gave like eco-friendly alternatives or vendors that were actually also a nonprofit too that were doing such good work in the world. And so weddings can still go on, but let's just do it in a way that's intentional and that's a way that's impactful too. So I still get really jazzed about it. I don't get to spend as much time on it because I feel really proud of all the resources we have on there. So it's just this ongoing kind of resource that lives on online too. So if you want to check it out, that's a little bit about what ethical weddings is about.
That's amazing. Congratulations. It's such an amazing project that, I'm sure made and is still making a huge impact. So no wonder you won an award. That's awesome. I know you've also done some workshops with some high profile organizations. So tell me a little bit more about what the workshops were about and what were really the message that you were trying to convey when you were running these workshops.
As we chatted on my podcast too, I love that you are just a natural teacher and you want to help people. And that's something that I learned over time too. Just I have a lot to share and I don't want people to make the same mistakes I did or to do something with stress when it could be done with ease. So I do love teaching and I'm really grateful for these organizations that have recognized some of the things I have specialty in and have invited me in. So we've taught workshops for the Golden State Warriors dance team, which is really amazing. There are these if y'all don't know, please do not call them cheerleaders and please don't make them as one-dimensional people. They're like doctors, lawyers who in the evenings and the weekends go to practice and perform at these games too. They are the hype people of these games, and it's so incredible. I respect that field so much. But they brought me in to help them cultivate their personal brands because they are both representing themselves and also this big brand known as the Golden State Warriors. Hello, been champions many years in the past few years. And so I got to talk with them about a lot of what I learned about selling condiments and also working with a lot of small businesses of, okay, what are your personal values? What are you also trying to teach? What is this impact you want to make on the world? What's your mission, vision, and values? And let's look at the Golden State Warriors and where's that Venn diagram? How can you be a representative of both? How can we make sure that what you are conveying out there and what your employer also wants you to convey, that there is some symmetry and cohesiveness too? And so that was a really fun workshop to teach. And then with Shopify, like, wow, what an e-commerce giant. They have empowered so many entrepreneurs. And so I flew down to LA where they had this really cool hub that was just a resource for small business owners. And I got to teach a series on branding, which in the e-commerce world can often look like, what does packaging look like? What does our customer service look like? And helping small business owners put on that hat of, okay, I'm also the brand manager of my business too. How can we infuse our brand and making consistent at every touch point when it comes to e-commerce as well? So it's been really fun and it's really been eye-opening to me as I prepare for these talks that branding is in every industry. There's a need for brand leadership in many aspects, whether you're a thought leader working for yourself or whether you're working with a big company. It's also learning how to represent and tell that story well and do it in a way that feels really cohesive. Because in the reverse, I lead a team. I mean, it's not huge, but there's 8 or 10 of us. And when I'm not there, I want them to still help people feel resourced and inspired and confident. How do I train them really well to have that same ethos as they represent our brand too? And so that's what I get to teach at these bigger companies as well.
That's great. Yeah, such a good message to teach bigger companies that need help just as much as we solopreneurs do sometimes to break things down and really, help them see the individuality of the brand and the identity of the brand and really do the best they can to help their clients then go on and do the same. So you've had your work published in pretty big name places like Vogue and Forbes. Tell us a little bit more about the impact of having your work published because there's a lot of conversation, especially in the photography world, of like, is it worth submitting things to publication? What does that actually do for your job? Is that going to really affect the people in my town that are my potential clients? Like, what is the return of investment, I guess I should say, of doing something like that? Obviously, it's amazing to have that on your resume, but did you really see a difference on your day-to-day, like, operations and reach when it comes to having your work published?
Yeah, those are good questions. I know that you mentor a lot of other photographers too, are probably asking because it is a lot of investment to pitch to get your work out there in front of these audience so that they'll be able to see it. So, first, let's talk about the benefits, right? We know that in marketing, it's about know, like, trust. People have to be aware of us and they have to learn to like us and then they trust us and they hire us, right? And so, oftentimes in that know, like, trust, people want to vet you ahead of time and they'll either vet you by reading your reviews or asking someone else who hired you. But if they have a name that they respect, associate with your name too, that bumps you up at the no like trust too. I've had people who have hired me and they said, "Hey, we hired you for this thing I was talking to." It was a family who hired us for a family shoot. Like we were about to go with someone else, but I kind of looked at their resume and I didn't know if they were legit. And then we looked at your website, we saw where you've been published on, and we trust a lot of those brands. And if they trust you, we want to trust you too. And I'm like, I'm going to quote you directly on that too. And so it just helps people say yes to you faster. So those are the benefits. It is a lot of work on the front end, but really find that magic, your differentiator that makes you you. Because if you put your mindset in the mindset of the editor, they really want something different and new and fresh. And so be a little innovative in how you pitch and be also like a servant's heart when you pitch to of why it would really benefit them to publish it as well. No disadvantages on our end other than like time invested of some roads, some things didn't get published, but then we just took another pack. We took that no as a like, maybe not right now, maybe not the right fit. And you kind of get a strong skin once you start pitching a lot too, that you're like, okay, let's try something else. Or like if we even got a response with them, let's ask them a follow-up question of what are you looking for too? So that if there's another project that maybe we're working on or a friend is working on too, we can send your way as well. So it really is that community mindset. How can we really help and serve other people. And the only time you lose is your time invested in putting things out there and making yourself a little vulnerable. But the upside is that I'm really excited to get more eyes on this project because I do really believe whether it's weddings or businesses, like whatever it is, there's so many industries that could use a more socially impactful and environmentally friendly mindset. So I'm really glad that that got the publicity and continues to get publicity so that more of that message can get out there.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely a great message that needs to continue to be spread. What is coming up for you? What's next for you in your studio and your brand?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting talking to folks, i.e., Nata. We were just talking about delegation so that we can have more time to ideate and envision. And our team has come to a really great point that a lot of the studio runs without me. Sometimes I like love stepping in and coming in for a shoot because I still just love it. But I'm so glad it's given me space to like think and dream and evaluate where we are in our lives right now. And we had a group coaching program that was really hands-on. I loved it. It was 16 weeks. I would have like 5 or 6 entrepreneurs, and we're still going to have it because I still love that level of transformation that we can get through this program, which is called the Brand Opening Mastermind. But I realized there was such a gap that it was a really advanced level that I was asking people to jump to. And there is this really juicy stage that people are still coming to me a lot for, and I didn't have a resource for, where they're like, Praise, I am just starting out. Like, I need help with figuring out like how to become legal, how to pay my taxes, how to find my first clients. You're helping people over here refine their brand experience, launch events, get on podcasts, but I'm just trying to figure out, what do I want to do? Who do I want to serve and what will people pay me for? I need something for this, and I also don't have as much money to invest as you have in this program here. Can you make something for me here? And so that's the question I'm asking myself too, of I still want a high touch experience, but I also can't, for as many people that I know that this can reach and this can help, how can I make that juicy and good? And so we're thinking about a course, but we're also thinking about training other coaches in this method of really serving people to help people through this process too. And so that's what I'm ideating right now, of how can we make something really juicy for the very beginning entrepreneur, and how can we in the beginning even help them start to think of themselves as brand managers from the beginning? Because I know you're just starting, you're just getting your first clients, but what is this impact you want to make on the world? What are the values that you have that you want your business to have too? And how exciting would it be that we have more leaders, like true leaders starting businesses? So that's kind of this juicy next project that I'm working on.
I'm excited for you and all these people that are going to benefit from it too. Thank you so much for spending the time and talking to us today. You shared a lot of great insights and great strategies and just inspired everybody to, just take their time and really find their brand voice and invest on making sure that that comes across when they're presenting themselves. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Really happy to be a resource to your audience. We have a lot of free resources on our website if you want to check us out at ComePlum, ComePlum.com. We still don't have the websites, condiments to ComePlum.com yet. Maybe that'll come later. TM,
You know I'm
but
buying that domain. I'm going to sell it to you later.
business mindset, always there. But there's a lot of resources on there. If that can help your audience at all, we would be overjoyed if it could.
Beautiful. We'll link everything for you guys on the show notes. Thank you for hanging out with us today, and I'll see you next week on another episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.